21 Pilots is a very special band to me. For the past decade, they've created lore within their albums to form a fictional world called Dima. Now, I don't know if it's evident within my channel content yet. If not, I have some work to do because it's my favorite thing, but they do a lot of world building within these albums. Along with this world building, all of their music, their world, represents the battle of mental health. It's always meant a lot to me, and I know that it's meant a lot to others too. They've been mischievous for quite a while. If you've been in the fandom for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The cryptic messages, the Twitter revamps, the letters, the bits of lore that were placed down, the band has been very interactive with the fandom, slowly feeding bits and pieces of the world in the past 10 years. I mean, going from Blurryface to the DMA.org.info to learn who Clancy was to his inevitable tragedy was such a fun journey to go through. But what was even more fun was to be alongside other people and talk about conspiracies and to see what jaw dropping art pieces that people have made. The passion this group of people have for the music and lore is given. It's been absolutely insane following the entire story that has been created. And on September 12th, it was the end of this beautiful story. It was almost unbelievable to me that something that helped me in a way that only one other thing has helped me when I was a kid with my mental health is closing its curtains. I mean, I was in middle school. That is a long time ago for me. When I truly was at my worst, they were there. However, when I listened to Breach, I couldn't shake the fact that all of Breach was just a love letter for those who have followed along. Whether you have been here since the start or you're just joining, no matter where you joined, you're a part of it. It's a love letter for you. Honestly, this entire video is going to be me yapping about Breach's roots of previous albums, what they represent, or at least what I got from it, maybe some fun facts, and how I felt the emotion of love while listening to it. I need to talk about this somewhere before I go absolutely insane. I hope you understand. City Wall, first and foremost, is going to be a big example because it was the last music video in the series, wrapping it up beautifully, even if it is tragic. And the entire song is riddled with nods at previous albums. Here are all the ones that I caught. Island of Violence, which has been talked about in Voldsoy in lore of Dima, is also a little nod at the song Migraine from Vessel. This term has been around especially in Scaled and Icy era when Clancy was washed up on the shore of Voldsoy. It's kind of just been around in the lore all around just the Island of Violence. My smile wraps around my head, splitting it in two. Reminds me so much of Goner and Blurryface. I've got two faces. Blurry's the one I'm not. Especially since in this moment Clancy had just been stabbed, and moments before he himself becomes Blurryface, before he unfortunately repeats the cycle that represents the feeling of falling back and failing his battle with himself. But now night has fallen, abandoned by the sun, abandoned by the sun. Reminded me of Semi Automatic's Nighttime and how all hope was lost when night went down. Nighttime is mentioned a lot in Tyler's music, and that's when he feels the fight with himself begins. I'll talk a bit about it when we get to the contract. And lastly, this lyric that reminds me of also Truce's terms. The sun will rise and we will try again. In truce, it's a sign of hope. No matter how rough the night is, the sun will rise. But in City Walls, he doesn't see that. The sun has left him and he has lost the fight. Entertain my faith, a nod at holding on to you. Lyrics that have been yelled time and time again. And finally to Clancy begging for someone to save him as Heavy Dirty Soul's chords start to sing in. He's begging for anyone to save him because he's lost to Nico and he needs someone to save, quite literally, his Heavy Dirty Soul. Just to add this here because I saw it on Twitter, but in the song Neon Gravestones, Clancy losing himself, and then in the album Trench, where he was mostly with the Bandito saying, "Promise me this, if I lose to myself, you won't mourn a day, and you'll move on to someone else." Clancy realizing that he might fall back into the cycle continuously and telling him Torchbearer that, and Torchbearer not giving up on him. It's so good. This entire song is packed with little nods from previous albums, and I won't lie, when I listened to it, I got extremely emotional. I literally felt like the man from Ratatouille. But this isn't the only song with examples from the past decade. Raw Fear's entire point is, well, fear, terror. The lyric, "Life is just forever, nipping heels, never slowing down," reminds me a lot of Heavy Dirty Souls. Death inspires me like a dog inspires a rabbit. The feeling of constantly being in motion, of running away from fear. You never slow down. It's a constant progression of things being right at your ankles, and when the emotion is trying to get away with it, the feeling of a dog chasing you and snapping its jaws at your feet. Also, I thought it was cute. The sons at the beginning are his daughters yelling into his phone. I always love the way that Tyler incorporates his family into his music. You can really feel the love behind it whenever it happens. Also, small shout out to Drum Show. It doesn't really have any things from the past, but this song entirely makes my chest so warm. You can feel the love that Tyler feels for Josh. This entire song to me is such a clear representation of how they understand each other as best friends. I adore it. I can't help but smile at the clear understanding that they have for each other. And then going straight into the contact. The lyric, I check the doors, check the windows, and pull the blinds, remind me of not today's, tore the curtains down, windows open, now make a sound. It is almost the complete opposite emotion, however. In Not Today, it's about Tyler overcoming blurry face and opening himself up to the sun and not succumbing to the feeling of depression. In the contract, you get that immediate sense of terror and paranoia. He's trying to shut himself out due to the fear of blurry face and Nico, thus being in depression's hands. I don't sleep much. That's crazy. How'd you know that? As mentioned before, this is not the first time that Tyler has written about sleep. Sleep is a very large part in Tyler's writing, leading all the way back even before this era to Taken by Sleep, Hear Me Now, and Just Like Yesterday. We get these lyrics from Overcompensate, Migraine, and the explanation of a feeling like insomnia and routines in the night. Sleep seems to be a large part of Tyler's mental battles, as said in Semi Automatic's bonus commentary.
I know I talk about the nighttime a lot. I feel like I listen to a lot of pop music today that talks about the night in a completely different way than I talk about the night. There's a lot of writers that talk about the night as in like this awesome time that everyone's partying or whatever. And usually the nighttime for me is like the worst. That's when everything comes out for me. And that's when I realize that I don't really understand why I'm here, what I'm doing, and that's when the doubts happen.
Along with this, it reminds me so much of Clancy's Scaled and Icy era when he was a prisoner to the bishops, being led in and forced to do shows for propaganda for Dima. Here's one of Clancy's letters that mirror that. Showed him. They dressed me up and asked me to smile, a poor attempt at hiding my sleep deprivation. In Center Mass right away, with the segment at the very beginning while speaking, the My Death is a small nod to a fan who sang in the crowd to a performance of Trees. It quickly becomes popular on social media so much that it went to Tyler himself, and the sample is straight up in the song. I think that's so cool. The fact that a fan is incorporated into the song itself, to me, it shows the click is also a part of the music itself. Also, the moment where someone stole Josh's drums, the girl, I don't think you can take that. I remember when that happened and how it was literally everywhere and they had taken the drum set. Off the top of my head, I can't quite think about a band that has done this before, even though there probably has. But the fact that the little jokes from the fandom snuck its way in makes me laugh. I also think it's hilarious that he probably just he just threw a ton of shit in there and like kind of let it stick, and it did stick. I love that song. It's awesome. Downstairs could be a multi-meaning song. I've seen different takes on it. Some people believe that it's about religion and Tyler's connection to it because he's had works in the past about doubting his religion. However, I feel as if the song is about escapism and self isolation. It reminds me of the song Polarized, the lyric, These stairs is where I'll be hiding all my problems. The lyrics in Downstairs remind me of what it's like to be at your worst, and rather to try and feel the pain of trying to get better, you feel comfortable down this metaphorical cellar. You'd rather stay because that's where it's comfortable. It also plays into the theme that comes up often in Breach, the feeling of letting someone down because you couldn't fight your own demons. Man, and Cottonwood tears me apart personally. It's less of a reference of the past, but the emotion that it makes me feel is worth getting its own little section for rambling. It was written for his late grandfather. The reason it's called Cottonwood is because it was his favorite tree. The quote, I like it for the little white things. It drops once a year. It's an extremely bittersweet song about the feeling of loss, going through the raw emotions of losing somebody you love so dearly. Along with these feelings of how it felt to lose someone you loved, it also covers the feeling of looking back into the past to see who you were before and then realizing who you are now. A part that I adore about 21 Pilots songs is how personal they can be sometimes. Whenever I listen to the song, I physically feel the emotion in my chest. It's heavy, and I really take a moment to feel all the very strong emotions that are being conveyed within the song. A very, very good song. When a song can make me feel something physically due to an emotion, I love it so much. It's good in my book. It it means it really touched me. I also wanted to add a little snippet. I keep seeing people saying that Tally is about Torchbearer's point of view, and then I can kind of see that. I think it's from Clancy's though, 1,000%. The reason I say so is because the song itself is almost the feeling of reverting back to your fight with mental health, and you've lost track on how many times it's happened, and the feeling of guilt of letting others down. Clancy wants Torchbearer to love him, to let him in, but the amount of times he's let him down, I say that heavy with quotations because it's only a feeling of guilt of failing yourself, and he's quite literally lost count. But underneath it all, Torch doesn't give up on him. He believes in Clancy. So I think for sure it definitely has Torchbearer in the picture, but I don't think it's from his point of view. I think it's Clancy's feelings with Torchbearer, if that makes sense. Now, I did buy the digital remains because the art was fantastic in it and also the extra song, Drag Path. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the theories and stuff because I am delusional. And I'm not one really to make theories whatsoever. I kind of just sit back in the background and watch other people make theories. But I've been thinking ever since City Walls came out. Before I fully get into it, I think that having City Walls be the goodbye music video is a mix of good and bad. And I don't mean that I hate it. I do like it. I feel like, yes, it is a tragic ending to the story, but the fact that the point is that people with mental health can and will fall back sometimes. Healing is not a linear journey. You don't just become healed forever, at least from what I've felt with my mental battles. There will be periods in your life where you fall back, unfortunately. The best example from their albums I've seen of this emotion is Snap Back from Clancy. Now, I've had my personal share of putting that song on when I've reverted because it's bound to happen. But the message isn't just it sucks that people revert back, and that's just how life is, and you'll have to deal with taking steps back in your journey always. It also has the mix of having your support system there for you, that you're not alone. That's where Drag Path comes in my opinion, and it's just a game theory, is that Drag Path takes place after the lore in City Walls, with Clancy becoming a bishop. The whole metaphor for sinking back into the cycle of depression and or mental health, but him begging to be helped. The feeling of unfortunately reverting back, but not being alone. This is where the Torchbearer comes in. Now, to me, Torchbearer represents a positive support system in a person's life, whether that be family, friends, etc. It's even shown in the end of City Walls that Torchbearer saved Clancy's mask and always swore to find him. That is a crazy detail to add, and it makes me sad, but it's really good. Dragpath's lyrics literally quite feel like a plea for Torchbearer to come back and find him, to not leave him alone, to be there by his side. Then we get the outro. The sun begins to rise. We've made it through the darkest night. You found me. A very, very obvious reference to Truce on how the sun will rise and we will try again. To me, this is the opposite to the end of City Walls, where the sun has abandoned him, but being supported and found once again through the darkest night, of him being reverted back into Blurryface / Nico, and Torchbearer never giving up on him and finding him. That's just my 2 cents, and this is how Clancy Bear can still win. I don't know. As I said, I think City Walls is a good representation that yes, you can fail and fall back on cycles, but Drag Path and Intentions are two of the true ending songs that tell you that it is okay to fail and that you will bounce back. Now, I need you to understand, before we go into the song that spoke to me the most, I do not dislike Garbage, Robot Voices, and One Way. I actually love them. Just doing some research and re-listening to them, I don't really see any correlation to previous albums. But I think these songs accurately depict Clancy and the situation he's been going through and the decline and the steps back he's been taking. Intentions is a song that truly broke me. Truce has been one of my favorite songs from 21 Pilots because when I was younger, I had struggled very badly with my mental health. However, when I listened to Truce, there was a purpose to keep going. It gave me a very real reason to keep moving forward and that life was worth living. To listen to Intentions and hearing the unmistakable sound of truce, I burst into tears. It's been 10 or more years later, and well, here I am, still alive. I continue to move forward, and I will always continue to move forward. It felt like I was connecting with the younger me in that moment somehow. I wanted to tell him that we made it. It was bleak back then, but we continued to move forward. It felt like such a tender and vulnerable moment for me to realize that I really, truly did make it. I don't often let myself think about where I am now and where I was in the past, but listening to that song made me reflect on that for once. I may have needed to restart over again. Sure, I fell back on progress, but here I am regardless. It was one of those feelings where you're at your worst, you don't think you're going to get to a certain age. When I was, I want to say 13, 14, I didn't think I was going to make it past 16. And then I made it past 16. I didn't think I was going to make it past 18. And then I made it past 18. And it just continued on. And here I am now, 24. And it was weird to reflect on that moment that I didn't give up. And it was hard. It was a very hard battle upwards. But I still made it. I'm here. I'm alive. And it's worth living. I beg you to listen to Intentions backwards. It's the exact same melody as Truce, and it feels like the exact callback to that song. I know this is gonna sound cheesy, but like, it spoke to me. The fact that there is basically a sequel to the song that helped me stay alive during my darkest hours, to the closing of the decade long lore, a bittersweet goodbye telling me that I will fail. But above all of that, I will grow and I will learn as I continue to, well, just be. Now, while this album is the close of the story, I cannot wait for what they come out with next. And I think the band deserves a nice long break after their Breach tour ends. Because, damn, releasing an album so soon after Clancy, another S tier album, to me, by the way, is extremely impressive. To me, Breach was a soft, bittersweet goodbye to the story we've all grown attached to. The characters, the world of Dima, all the conspiracies, the secret messages, the cryptic events and websites. It was all so much fun to be a part of. And honestly, it hasn't quite hit me fully that this era is over. I mean, all eras end eventually, but the best part about an era ending is paving the way for a new one. Thank you for listening, and if you're feeling grief of it ending, I understand. However, we must keep moving forward. We must be. We must make mistakes. We must fail to learn. To fail is to recognize how to live. Remember, you aren't alone either. Not in this world. Multiple songs in this wonderful band tell us to keep moving, even if we make mistakes, even if we just take steps back. It's bound to happen. So, just try to be. Thank you.